Hey guys, welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Mike, sitting here flying solo today to give you guys my quick review of the Bob's Burgers movie. Now, I am a big Bob's Burgers fan. It's one of my favorite shows to watch. It's something that I typically have on a perpetual repeat. It's one of the things I like to just have on when I'm on the couch and just relaxing and having a good. It's one of my favorite feel good shows. I love Bob's Burgers so very much. And like a lot of people, when I heard that they were making a movie, I kind of had the reaction of everybody was just kind of like, hey, do we need this? Because a lot of times when you take animated series or TV series in general and translate them into a movie format, it doesn't always land as well. I know people had kind of mixed feelings about the Simpsons movie, and that was kind of where I sat as well. I was a little apprehensive going into this, but I got to tell you, coming out of it as a Bob's Burgers fan, I had the time of my life with this movie, and that's kind of the big thing I can say about this movie is this is a Bob's Burgers movie made for Bob's Burgers fans. If you like or love Bob's Burgers, you're going to like or love this movie. If you're not a particular fan of that show, this isn't going to do anything for you. It's not going to convert you into a fan. It's not going to offer you something that the show doesn't already. And that's what I think is kind of one of the biggest strengths about this movie is at the end of it all, it really just felt like a 90-minute episode of Bob's Burgers. And I think that that says a lot that the movie was able to really capture what makes the series so special. And in order to talk about what works in the movie, I got to talk about what works in the show. One of the things that I think works most in the show is just kind of the family dynamic in general. I'm a big Family Guy fan, but at times Family Guy can feel like just five completely disjointed characters who we know are related and are family because the show tells us they are, but they're so different and disjointed from each other. You can't, it doesn't like you couldn't tell me that family actually exists. The characters in Bob's Burgers feel like they're all kind of cut from the same supremely awkward cloth. They all have little idiosyncrasies that make them unique, but there's also a lot about them that they just seem to get each other. None of them are ever really supremely perplexed by one another. They're all kind of in each other's corner, and that is translated beautifully in this movie. It still feels like the same group of kind of weird family members who you could, if those were a real family, I would 100% they believe they were all related. That you buy from the beginning to the end, the same way you do watching the show, that this is a loving, albeit weird family of misfits. And the other thing that I think really translated well from the show into this movie is just kind of the um simplistic but also wacky kind of things a family like this can get into. We've seen this family get into some very small mishaps and some very big mishaps. One of the things that didn't work for me with the Simpsons movie was how this family that's always dealt with things on a kind of a small scale, kind of a small localized scale, is suddenly thrown into this almost global catastrophe type of situation that I just had a hard time. And I'm saying this is about a show where everyone's skin is yellow and things like that. But I had a hard time connecting with the Simpsons movie the same way that I did with the show because it was so outlandish. Whereas the things that happen in this movie for the Bob's Burgers movie feel just like something that you would have gotten out of the TV show. And that's very much a positive, I think, because you're like you do with any IP, you're playing with characters and settings that the audience is very familiar with. And if you create something that's too alien, that's too different, too far removed from the original source material, you're going to find that people have a hard time connecting with it. And you want the Bob's Burgers fans that have kept this show on the air to be the ones that help your movie do well in theaters. Is this going to be a big, huge box office blockbuster? No, I think it's going to make its money back, turn a small, modest profit. The people who want to see this movie are going to see this movie. This is not something you need to try to pull the masses in. You just need to know who your audience is. There's some really delightful surprises in this, and I use the term surprises lightly because it still fits in with the what we know from the show. The show has never shied away from its use of music. It's not a musical show per se, but there are plenty of times in the show where we stop for a brief, quirky musical break or have some very funny overlaying music playing that was written specifically for what's going on in the episode, whether it's the Mad Pooper song or the taffy butt song, or the lifting up the skirt of the night, things that were written. So music has always been a very big part of Bob's Burgers, the show. And the movie does go musical. It is a musical. There are several points in the movie where we break out into a full-blown dance number. It goes full Broadway on us. And it's never the first time it happens, there's that little part of you that's like, really? We're doing this? But then you remember what you're watching and you're like, no, this feels like the kind of musical number that would happen in the show. Nothing ever feels out of place. It all feels like just the show taken to the third degree, because it's three, or that doesn't work math wise. I didn't pass math in school, but like I said, it's a 90-minute episode of Bob's Burgers with some really good animation, by the way. The animation on this is very good. They stepped it up a little bit, added some shadowing and some obviously good like digital three-dimensional kind of thing going on, some forced perspective with what's traditionally 2D animation, and it really just hits on all cylinders. Again, if you're not a fan of Bob's Burgers, you're not going to really get much out of this, but if you're a fan of the show, you're going to have the time of your life with this movie. Now, something that people have been wondering about that I will go ahead and comment on is whether or not Jimmy Pesto makes an appearance in this movie. As we all know, the voice actor of Jimmy Pesto recently fell into some legal trouble, which you can Google and find out on your own. Suffice to say, his character is not going to be featured in the show anymore, and is also no longer is not featured, I should say, in this movie. At one point, we do see him in the background of two shots in the movie. He has no spoken dialogue. We spend maybe 5 seconds inside of Jimmy Pesto's restaurant with Teddy. And the other Pesto children are there. But the story really is mostly, they're not a big part of the story to begin with anyway. The story is mostly focused on the kids and the family in general and what's going on with them in this movie. If you are a Bob's Burgers fan, I highly recommend you go check this movie out. I don't have a whole lot I can really say as a negative to this, because I'm a Bob's Burgers fan. So some of the things that someone who's maybe more of an objective third party might have a problem with, I honestly, it all worked for me. The ending does maybe go on a little bit long, but considering what they're dealing with, I think it still wraps up very nicely. I don't think there's any real issues with pacing so much with the ending, as it is just we kind of get to where we know what the ending is going to be, and we just kind of take our time getting there. But that's the worst thing I had to say about this as a Bob's Burgers fan. So please go see this movie if you're a fan, and if not, go see something else. Top Gun came out. Go see that, or watch Stranger Things or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi, check out our Obi-Wan Kenobi reviews here on the channel. We've got our first 2 episodes up now, as well as our reactions to the new Star Wars game, the new Cassian Andor series trailer, and the Willow trailer, plus anything else we have coming out here soon on Off the Wall. And for Soul and Bogz, my name is Mike, and we'll see you guys again next time. Bye.